Okay, so what's happened so far is we've taken the servos and I've actually glued them into the servo pockets with 5-minute epoxy. Now, I did want to mention one thing that's very important about using epoxy in this. Do not put epoxy on the underside of this servo. If you put the epoxy on the underside, you'll never get it out. I put it on the ends, here and here, when I put it in, and it's quite nice. If you ever need to get it out, you can just take your razor knife and saw along the foam and the servo will come out. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the installation of the horns. Now on this horn there is a piece of double-sided tape. So what I'm going to do is I've selected the second hole from the bottom for this. So we'll go ahead and, sorry my hand's in the way there guys. We'll get that in there and just close this up. What that'll do is it'll give me a rough idea where the position of this needs to be now. Hold the flap so that your finger is holding it in neutral position and just sort of let that pop down on there. Okay, that's down on there now. Now we got to get the backing plate and the 2 screws through. And the easiest way I've discovered for doing this is to take an old linkage rod. Here's a linkage rod. This is actually an aileron rod from a Corsair. Take your cigarette lighter or whatever other source of heat you have if you're not a smoker. I'm sorry, I'm a smoker. And put a little bit of heat on this, and this works fantastic. You won't believe how easy this works. Just put a little heat on there and straight on down through that hole. One hole, 2 holes. Does a nice job all the way through. Grab your 2 screws, 1 screw through that hole, 1 screw through this hole. That one was a little tight. There we go. Now what we'll do is we'll flip it over and I'll see if I can do my best here to let you have a look at both sides while we figure out what the best way is to put that on. So it at least looks square on the wing. It appears this is going to be the best way. So start one of them first and just get it threaded in the hole. Try not to drive it in all the way because you really need to sort of move it around to get the other one in. And once they're both started, then you can go ahead and crank them down there. Okay, here comes the other one. Now I'm just using a small number 1 Phillips screwdriver for this, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of effort, but try not to clamp them down too tight because you can collapse the foam fairly easy. This stuff is durable, but I mean it's not steel. So steel or aluminum or carbon fiber or anything else like that, but it does a real nice job. Now I've already got my receiver hooked up to this so that you guys can have a look at how this works. And I've done the other side just for the purposes of speeding along this video, but I think we're pretty close there and even in a reasonably neutral position. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this back down on the table. And here's our receiver again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get our test battery and we'll plug the test battery in and turn on the radio. Okay, now there may be some adjustments here. Obviously these clevises can be moved and we have our little piece of fuel tubing here to hold these clevises tight. Always make sure that you have your fuel tubing. Don't use even a clevis with a clamp. Do not use that without the fuel tubing. It absorbs the vibration and it absolutely guarantees that the only way that this thing's ever coming off is if the pin that's going through there actually breaks. So here we go, we'll demonstrate the flaps. Flaps in the down position, flaps in the neutral position. Looks like it works. Nice job, 25 minutes, 30 minutes worth of work and a couple of servos and the hardware from the kit and you're in business. Now I do want to admit that I had a little trouble with this tape along here, the silver tape. As I peeled it off, of course it pulled the paint off. And when the paint stuck, there was no adhesive left to stick it back down. So what I've used is a matte Scotch tape, a Scotch tape that does not have a shine on the outside of it. This stuff is available all over the place. This one just happened to come out of a roll, from an office type thing. Anyways, this can be painted. What I'm going to do later on is I'm going to put some paint over this just to shade it in very carefully and cover up the servos. Well, thanks. This has been the flap installation video for the Parkzone ME 109. My name is Randy, and I hope you guys get some use out of that. Thank you very much for looking.